All right, Unit 0, Lesson 2 continued. The first part we talked about compound inequalities and or inequalities. Now we're going to talk about and or intersection inequalities. And inequalities require that both statements be true. If one is false, then the other is false. Solve inequalities separately and sketch on the graph. There are different types that can occur with an and. 3 general types are listed below. When the two graphs of the solutions go in opposite directions, only the overlap area is graphed for the final solution. When the two graphs go in the same direction with an overlapping area, only the smallest graph is used. And then when each of them go in opposite direction with no overlapping areas, then the final graph remains blank and the answer is no real solutions, or just no solutions. Okay, so let's look at those. So solve them like you would. That gets all the x's on one side. And all the constants are just the plain numbers on the other side. 2 negatives make a bigger negative. Remember, we're adding opposites to both sides. Then we're isolating our variable by dividing by same. We divided by a negative, so we need to flip the symbol. And this is an and. We got to remember that's going to make a difference. Okay. Let's see. Add 3 to both sides. Move my x to the other side by adding the opposite. Add down. Isolate my variable by dividing by the same sign. This is going to be, here, let me write this down for them. X is greater than 2. All right, so here's a 2, 3, 4, 5. One says that x is less than 5. One says x is greater than 2. So my final answer, they go in opposite directions with this small little bit here overlapping. That's my final graph. And the interval notation for that is 2, 5. Okay? So this is sort of showing your work, but what I require are these two ones here, okay? All right, so the next one, quickie math here. Neither of them are dividing by a negative, so we are not flipping anything. So here's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One of these, soft bracket, less than 5. One of these is a hard bracket and less than 1. They're going in the same direction. Notice that this section up here is kind of alone. You want because it's an and, you only want the overlap. So this is the one that we want. And this interval notation for that one is that one. Okay? The or, we take the other one. The and, we take that one. That's important to try to remember. All right, so this is going to be -1. Wait, we divided by a negative. Flip the symbol, R. And then it's backwards, pointing to the R. So I'm going to do that. And then this one, okay, that's going to be R. We divided by a negative, flip the symbol, that's a 1. All right, so there's a -1 here and a 1 here. And the -1, it was less than. The +1, it was greater than. And it's an and. With no overlapping areas, your final answer is that there is no graph. And just feel free to write no, so, oops. least I can do is spell it properly. Solution. Okay. So basically, there is no graph. That's what your answer looks like for that. Okay. All right, so last page here. And then there's a special type of, special type of an and equality. It looks like this. It has three parts. Notice that there's two inequality symbols. All right. The expression containing the variable is between two numbers. It's written into three parts, and you want to solve by starting in the center. Okay. You want to isolate this x in the middle here. You solve by getting rid of the term that's in there with it. Whenever you do to one, you do to the other two instead of just doing to the other side. So this is going to be -8 is less than the thing in the middle, and that's a 0. And then you need to divide by a negative. All right, we're dividing by a negative and working with an inequality, which means we need to flip symbols. So -8 divided by a -4 is a +2. Less than turns into a greater than. That goes away, and then this one gets flipped. 0 divided by negative is a 0. And then the whole thing's backwards. So I take a minute and put the 0 over there. Put this back. And put it like that. Okay. How do you read this? This is x is greater than 0 and x is less than or equal to 2. That's another way to say it's an and. When they're shoved together like that. Okay. So when you graph them, I like to pull it apart and find the x is greater than 0 and less than or equal to 2, and it's an and, so you only want the overlapping part, which is here, and the interval notation for that is 0, 2. Okay, so those are the two things that I need right there. All right, so let's practice a few more of these. So it doesn't matter what it is, we just want to solve for, in this case, k. So this is going to be -2k less than or equal to -4. Divide by a negative, so flip the symbol. And I like to bring down the word or to remind myself it's an or when I go to graph, because it's going to matter. So this is a -k plus 3 divided by 1. K divided by a negative number, flip the symbol, is here. All right, so find this stuff on the graph. That is a +2, which is there, and it says it's going to be a greater than or equal to 2. This one says it's a -3, 1, 2, 3 down here, and it's less than a -3, but it's an or, right? If it's an or, we need both of these areas. If it was an and, it would be no solution, but since it's an or, that's the one that's going to need the u to combine them. So -infinity, -3, soft bracket with a u for union, and and then a hard bracket for 2 and a positive infinity. Sorry for the squashiness there. But that's the final answer and the final graph. Okay. Get the variable term alone on one side. Isolate the variable by dividing by a negative number. So we're flipping the symbol. And I'm writing the word and. It's an and problem. 7b 42. 7b dividing by a positive, so we leave the sign alone. And that's a 6. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4 is a negative 4. And it is less than or equal to negative 4. And negative 6 is down here. Less than or equal to here. They're both going in the same direction, so we want to keep the smaller one here as our final answer. Okay, and the interval notation representing that is that right there. Oh, wait, no, gosh. And if this was in class, you'd be yelling at me by now. What did I do wrong? This is an and. It is an and. I'm looking at my key. And up, one was a greater than. I made them both a less than. Sorry. Try this again. That says greater than. So it says greater than or equal to. Whoops, let me erase this too. Greater than or equal to a 4. Oh, and this says less than or equal to a negative 6. And it's an and. Therefore, it is a no solution. Jeez. Sorry about that. Okay, I need to practice apparently. Negative 9. Move the 10. 8x is greater than or equal to negative 8. Up, and I divide it by a negative. I'm just going to have to go back and keep checking that because you guys aren't there to yell at me to remind me to do that. Negative 4x less than 4. Divide by a negative, x is greater than negative 1. All right, so, excuse me. Oops. All right, this says 1. It says it's greater than or equal to 1. And this is a negative 1. It says it's greater than, soft bracket, greater than a negative 1. So since this is an and, we want to make this one our answer. Did I do this again? They're both greater than. Sorry, I'm checking my key to make sure I didn't mess anything up. And it helps me fix the key. Yeah, I did do something wrong. On every single one, I apologize. This is how it goes for you too, though, I bet. Well, no, you're probably better at this than I am. Let's see. Right here, I divided by a negative 8, and I didn't flip my symbol. I think it's a testimony that it's hard to remember all the little parts, and I try to go back and look over my work. If I have time on the test, I could do some of them twice. But it's important to look back to see if you needed to flip anything, okay? So let's see, negative 1, soft bracket greater than, 1 less than or equal to, and it's an and. So we only want the overlap. That's the answer to that one graphically. And then interval notation would be soft bracket, negative 1, 1, the hard bracket. All right, let's see if I can do this one without any mistakes here. That's a 3 for start here. Remove the constant out. Whatever you do to the middle, you do to both sides. -12. -6. Divided by 2. Dividing by a positive, so none of the signs get flipped. Alright, where is -3? It's down here, and -6. 4, 5, 6. Alright, this is n is less than or equal to -3, and n is greater than or equal to -6. So less than 3 and greater than or equal to 6. So this is another overlappy area. So here to here. So your final answer is -6, -3. Okay? Thank you.